Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. And what I will do is the same thing we did in our administration. There will be an absolute wall between personal and private and the government.
Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business dealings?
Yes, I stand by that statement. I did not know he was on the board of that company. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, we need to follow up on this bombshell Devon Archer testimony. Hunter Biden's business partner, his former friend, his former N-word, in which basically Devon Archer confirmed that Joe Biden, aka the big guy, 10% for the big guy, he was in fact on the phone with Hunter Biden's business partners, okay? But the Democrats are basically saying that Joe Biden was just on the phone to exchange pleasantries, right? It wasn't Hunter Biden selling access to his father or his father actually discussing any type of real business transactions or business dealings, anything like that. Joe was just on the phone to say hello, right? And that's all it was. Anything more than that was just a right-wing conspiracy theory, right? That's just what it is. Because apparently, according to the liberal media, there is no evidence, right? There is no evidence that there's anything shady going on here at all. Republicans are just making it up.
So far, they have been not able to prove any evidence here of wrongdoing.
House GOP members continue to try and link Hunter's business dealings to the president, though they have yet to produce any concrete evidence.
Now, it is important to keep in mind, while Republicans believe that there is a tie between Hunter Biden's business dealings and the president himself, they have yet to provide any hard evidence that the president himself has done anything wrong.
House Republicans are going to accuse him.
They are.
They're going to make the accusation.
They're going to accuse him of all sorts of stuff.
Whether they have the evidence or not.
Correct.
And Republicans have not tied the president, Joe Biden, to profiteering from them.
They didn't have the evidence yet.
Where's the evidence? There is no evidence of any wrongdoing by the president.
There is today zero evidence that Joe Biden, the president of the United States, knew about what his son was doing. And if the president of the United States committed the kind of offenses that in the Republican fever dreams they're saying he committed without any evidence, there is at this point zero evidence that Joe Biden is guilty of anything. What the Republicans are doing, of course, is they're just very, very angry that their guy got impeached twice. And so they're just casting about for a way of revisiting retribution on the Democrats, and this is their latest fever dream.
Yeah, so according to the mainstream liberal media, there is no evidence, right? All of this is a conspiracy from the Republican Party and the GOP because they're mad that Trump got impeached twice, right? Except the fact that we have bank records, we have suspicious activity reports, we have wire transfers, we have private bank transactions, the LLCs, the texts, the emails, WhatsApp messages, photos of Joe with Hunter Biden's business partners, the voicemails to his son, two business partners saying Joe is the brand, the big guy, and the chairman, two whistleblower testimony, the recorded phone calls between Biden and Poroshenko, the video of Joe Biden bragging about firing a Ukrainian prosecutor, and Hunter's statements that he has given his dad half his income. Yeah, there is no evidence, right? There is no evidence that Joe Biden was involved, right? Again, you know, this is the mainstream liberal media in the narrative, okay? They ignore all the evidence and then tell you that there is no evidence. And in fact, Democrat Representative Dan Goldman, who has been running defense for the Biden administration after the bombshell testimony from Devon Archer, is actually now calling for the Republicans to stop the investigation. He's demanding for them to stop it, right? Which to me signals that the Republicans should definitely keep digging.
And all of the evidence that we have gotten to date, including today, is an indication that Joe Biden did nothing, not even approximating improper, much less wrong or illegal. There is no evidence linking Joe Biden to anything related to Hunter Biden. And in fact, the evidence that we got today is confirmation, Anderson, that The only official action Joe Biden took in connection with that was connected to any of Hunter Biden's businesses was to urge the prosecutor general to be fired from Ukraine. And Devon Archer, the witness today, said that Burisma, on whose board he sat with Hunter Biden, did not want that prosecutor general fired because he was, quote, under their control, unquote. So the only official action here that is at issue actually went counter to what Hunter Biden's business interests might be. And this investigation, Anderson, needs to end, and it needs to end now, because what we're doing is badgering a private citizen, and there's no legitimate legislative purpose at all.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Okay, that's Republican Dan Goldman begging the GOP to end this investigation after what appears to be a flat-out lie in regards to what was actually said during this testimony. And again, we need the actual transcript, and that's why I hate the fact that this was done behind closed doors, because it's a lot of he said, she said now at this point, and it's very frustrating. But allegedly, Devon Archer testified that Hunter Biden and top Burisma executives called D.C. in 2015 to ask the Obama administration for help in firing a Ukrainian prosecutor that was investigating the firm. Okay, and they needed the guy to be fired because if he wasn't fired, then the firm would go under, right? It wouldn't be able to survive. Now, they allegedly leveraged Hunter Biden and his connection to Joe Biden, who at the time was basically the head of our foreign relations with Ukraine. Okay, he was in charge of the U.S.-Ukraine policy under the Biden administration. And after this call, Joe Biden went to Ukraine and made a speech in which we all remember Joe Biden doing a speech basically said, look, unless the Ukrainian government fires this prosecutor, then we're going to withhold billions of dollars in loans, which in my opinion, again, that's influence peddling, because he was clearly using the office of the Vice President of the United States to benefit himself. And he was making foreign policy decisions based off helping his son and what business interests he had in Burisma. According to an FBI document, FD 1023 form, which contained allegations that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden allegedly coerced the CEO of Burisma to pay them millions of dollars in exchange for getting the Ukrainian prosecutor fired. Again, Joe Biden bragged about this, right? He bragged about doing this, okay? Wanting to get this guy fired.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Listen, the whole concept, you're investigating this thing, and you suddenly have the White House saying, no, did not talk business. No, we meant did not do business. And now it's just this casual on the phone, but you happen to be the sitting vice president of the United States. And regardless if it's casual, it is influential as heck.
Carl he's spot on. I mean, this is what we call, as head of the criminal division, we saw this quite a bit in the bribery cases. It's called stream of services. You sell access or something of value, and you get something back in return, but it's not an express quid pro quo. It's just an understanding. But if you can match up the services within a reasonable period of time with the thing of benefit, in this case $10 million or whatever it is, then you have bribery. You have to have that express quid pro quo. And they were selling access. All you had to do, they do the big setup, and then they put Joe Biden on the phone, and just shows that they have access. Here he is. He's on the phone. I just told you, we can do things for you. And there he is. So, I mean, that matches up perfectly. Then you match it up with the prosecutor gets fired. The prosecutor is going after Burisma right within that same time frame. Boy, you're really close to a slam dunk, in my opinion.
Okay, but again, according to Dan Goldman, Burisma allegedly didn't want that, right? Burisma didn't want that. And Joe Biden getting this guy fired was actually in opposition to his son's interests, according to Democrat Dan Goldman, who wants this investigation to end immediately, by the way, right? End it immediately, okay? For something that, again, has no evidence, right? There's nothing going on here, according to him. End it immediately. But when Democrats in the mainstream liberal media aren't just lying to the American people, claiming that there's no evidence at all, okay, that anything wrong is going on here, they're basically excusing Joe Biden being on the phone with Hunter by essentially claiming that Joe Biden's dead son is the reason why Joe Biden was on phone calls with Hunter Biden and doing these business dealings. And because it was such a sad time in his life, that's why he was doing it. They're basically using Joe Biden's dead son as a way to excuse activity that Joe Biden knew was not right, right, that he should not have been involved in. Take a look.
Hines have been remarkably candid about saying, we don't have it yet. And even House Speaker McCarthy last week sort of pushed back against this impeachment inquiry momentum because he was like, look, we don't have evidence to go that far. And as far as Hunter Biden goes, there's no doubt. I mean, it's pretty clear, even those close to the Biden family suggest that some of his behavior was pretty unseemly. That doesn't make it illegal. And it also means we don't know the role that then Vice President Biden may have played. And it seems like, no, they haven't proven that he had anything to do with it. They haven't proven that he profited from this at all. Yet maybe he is guilty of turning a blind eye to some of his son's behavior. And we should put this in context. This is a time when Beau Biden, the president's other son, was ill and then dying and then passed away. So perhaps he was not as attentive to what he should have been here. But again, there has simply been no evidence, Gene Robinson, no evidence at all that he was profiting from this or that either of them committed a crime when it came to this. And we hear here from Comer and other Republicans, it's wishful thinking. They're trying to create a scandal when there's no evidence that they have one.
Yeah, they're trying to create a scandal, or at least the appearance of a scandal, the sort of smokiness of a scandal, and just create that atmosphere without actual evidence and without an actual scandal, because I think it's pretty clear, at least so far, there is nothing there. There is nothing there. You could certainly argue that at some point, if Hunter Biden put President Biden on the speakerphone for like 20 times, you could certainly ask whether at some point President Biden might have said, hey, quit putting me on speakerphone. Are you having a business meeting? Like, what is that about? But the context is that this was a sort of very fraught and sad time for the Biden family, and we know how important family is to the president. And so, do you hang up on your phone, on your son at any time, but certainly at a moment like that? And probably the answer is no.
Yeah, so guys, I want you to understand, we've now come full circle, right? With the mainstream liberal media saying Joe Biden was never involved. He never spoke with Hunter Biden's business partners. He was unaware of his business deals. He didn't know nothing, right? This is all a conspiracy to now. Well, Joe Biden may have been involved. He may have known about Hunter Biden's business deals. He may have spoke with Hunter Biden's business partners, but it's okay because his son was dying, right? His son was dying. And Joe was going through a bad time. He was very sad. So therefore, that's an excuse for Joe Biden doing something that he know he should not have been doing. Okay, because again, whether or not Joe Biden was actually talking to Hunter Biden's business partners about pleasantries, saying hello and goodbye or whatever, he had to have known that it was not a good idea, okay, to be on the phone with Hunter while Hunter's on the phone with his business partners, right? And again, his son dying is not an excuse, right, for Joe Biden participating in corruption, because I personally believe it was deeper than that. I believe that they had in-depth conversations with Joe about what Joe could do, okay, and the influence that Joe has. And, even if it was one of those things where Joe is just exchanging pleasantries, he had to have known that the reason why Hunter was putting him on the phone is for leverage, okay? So again, you know, it's funny how the mainstream liberal media, they are clearly doing mental gymnastics in order to justify what, in my opinion, is clear and overt corruption from the Biden administration. And I think that the GOP at this point, it would be very disappointing if they did not move forward with impeachment, because remember, Democrats impeached Trump based off the quid pro quo between Trump and Ukraine. And all the witness testimony that came out in support of the Democrat narrative, that was bombshell, right? This is evidence that we need, even though there was no real evidence. And the fact is that these people, right, they didn't think that you needed a solid case. You didn't need a solid case here to impeach Trump, right? You just needed witness testimony. That's all you needed, right? But again, when it comes to this situation right here, witness testimony, whistleblowers, all the evidence that the GOP has, well, that's no evidence. They have no evidence whatsoever. But these same people was peddling the nonsense in regards to the quid pro quo between Trump and Ukraine in order to dig up dirt on the Bidens, right? It's just, again, hilarious how this works, right? These are the same people that peddled the Russian collusion nonsense that really had no evidence behind it, but they pretended like it was fact. They peddle it as if it was fact just for it to be disproven and debunked time and time and time again. It's just funny how the mainstream liberal media works. These people clearly don't care about facts. They don't care about evidence. They are clearly working for one side of the political aisle, which is the Democrat Party, and they're going to push whatever conspiracies that they can. They're going to deflect. They're going to do mental gymnastics in order to make sure that their audience doesn't think that anything is going on here, okay, in regards to the Bidens, and that Trump, all the real corruption comes from Trump, right? Trump is corrupt. Biden's not. Any investigation into Biden is not legit. Any investigation into Trump is 100% legit. There's mountains of evidence when it comes to investigating Trump. No evidence when it comes to investigating Biden, even though clearly that's not the case, right? You know, it seems that things have worked out in the exact opposite direction. Everything the liberal media says, it seems like the exact opposite is true because, again, these are propagandists. Okay, they're not actually trying to uncover the truth or get down to the facts and to actually educate the American people on what's actually happening here. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.